even with a contract printer, we're selective. Like, not just anybody can come in here and do contract work. I have to know, like, who are you selling to, and what do you expect to pay? Because this is what we charge.
Squeegee Ink Podcast, Season 2. This podcast is sponsored by Blind Maggot, Magna Colours, M&R, Target Transfers, and Adobe Creative Suite.
My name is Jason, and owner of Cured Printing in San Antonio, Texas.
It's quite a brave name, isn't it? Like Cured Print, because it's kind of like, if it's not cured, then you're buggered because it's in the name. So you have to kind of prove yourself straight off the bat. I thought that was quite funny when I saw it. But yeah, no, just because I was looking at your Instagram and you were in like a similar situation to us a few years ago with like, you had the manual, you seem to be in a smaller space. And then recently you've gone on to you've got like some kind of automatic, I can't quite tell which one it is. But like, what led to that? Like, was it just demand, or did you have to like actively make a jump, and was it quite scary to grow the business?
So yeah, we did start in the garage of our house, and it wasn't really even supposed to be a business to begin with. So, I mean, I don't know if you want the whole backstory, but when we, at the time, I guess when we first started, I was in the mobile industry. So I worked for T-Mobile for a long time, about, I want to say 9 years. But I was managing a couple locations. So I was kind of their sales trainer / manager. And so it gave me some extra time that, you know, a lot of it was mostly from home, but a friend of mine and I decided to start like graphic design. I was going to classes for graphic design at the time, and we just came up with some random, really dumb ideas, like, dumb shirts to just sell.
Yeah. Completely after college and stuff, or is it just like you just thought, I just want to go and have another crack at education? Or
no, so I went to school for business management, and then about halfway in, I decided it's not beneficial to finish. I'm already making more in my current career than I would it doesn't really matter at this point. So I stopped going for that. And then a couple years into, I guess, being in my career with T-Mobile, I just went really just to learn at that time. It wasn't to get a degree. I just went for graphic design. So I wanted to learn how to just use Illustrator, Photoshop. Yeah. So we were just taking classes, and that's kind of how we just decided, like, hey, this is kind of cool. Let's try something with it. And so we came up with a couple of designs, and then it was my job, I guess, as our little business or company was trying to get formulated to find somebody to print the stuff. And so I called a few local shops here, and, you know, obviously try to figure out the best. I'd never done this before. So I called a few places and tried to get the gist of how to do this. I've never tried to get something printed. Explain to them what I wanted, and we were very, very specific about what we wanted, like the size and the location. And, you know, it was very like, well, it's going to be 3 inches by 3 inches for the back, and it's going to be 10 and a half inches in the front, and it's going to go right. And I was like, well, can we move it down a bit, or can I make the back a little bit smaller? And they're like, it's going to cost you extra, like, for us to redo it, like move it around and fix it for you. And I was like, well, I don't want to pay extra. Like, we're trying to make the money off these shirts. So we didn't, you know, I didn't know what the standard was. So I was like, well, fine, let's go with what you say. What about shirts? Like, what shirts are we talking about here? And they were like, well, they're the basic cotton shirt. It was really just me trying to customize it. And it wasn't like a big deal. It wasn't like a big thing. But so I ended up calling a different shop and asking the same questions. And it was the same kind of like, this is just how we do it. Like, do you want to do it or not? Do you want to print these shirts or not? And it wasn't very friendly at all. We did get them printed. We printed them. We sold them. But then, like, the second time that we were going to do the next design, we decided, let's try and do this ourselves, because we didn't like the way it came out, and we didn't like the way that they were not willing to help us anyway. Yeah. I don't know if you ever heard of a U-do.
A U-do?
Yeah.
No. What's that? That could literally be anything to me. How are you spelling it? Y-U-D-O?
Y-O-U-D-O.
No, I've never heard of that. No. What is it?
So it's basically like a print shop in a box, pretty much. I mean, it's like the size of a printer, but it has a UV light built inside, so you can stick like a really small like screen. It's a screen, but it just has like little holes in it.
Yeah.
And you can create the shirt and everything and print it. And then on top, it had where the little screen would clamp, and then you would just press the ink over it. Super cheap little thing, but we found one at like a local shop that's, you know, sold art supplies, and we tried it out and we tested it and it worked, and we printed some shirts off of it. But reclaiming it and cleaning it, all that was a mess. It was a disaster after we printed one shirt. So
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think
it might be a different name, you know, but
is it kind of like a little roller and then you put this kind of like floppy screen through it?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think there's one.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. No,
it's Pro. No.
But it does everything. So anyway, that we tried that out, but I was like, this is so stupid. Like, there's no way I'm gonna print like 20 shirts on this thing. It's so dumb. But that kind of like subsided as I got busier with my career, and I didn't really touch it again. And then somebody that I worked with, I had told them that we were messing around with it, and they were like, well, my husband has a softball team and was like, do you think you can print shirts for him? And I'm like, yeah, but I guess. And so I had to call the shops again to get pricing, because I don't know how to charge for this stuff. So I called them again and just gave them the order, and just to get the price. And then so I told them, yeah, we'll do it for this, you know, price, whatever. So we did them, messed them all up, made $0. But after that, somebody else asked from them and said, hey, can we get some shirts too? And so it kind of started that way. And I'm sure that's kind of the typical story. It's just, you know, but so fast forward maybe about a year or two, and after that, we started having customers just referring other people. So we weren't really like trying to bring in. That's why I'm saying it kind of happened by accident.
Yeah.
And then so like gradually we were just increasing our capacity by, you know, we added, you know, the simple Riley Hopkins. We found it used. We got this whole kit for like $300 with the press and some inks and some random screens and some, you know, cheap squeegees, and ran with that. We were curing all our shirts with the heat gun. Yeah, no flash. I didn't have no flash, so I can only do like one color. But it was just, you know, those little things. So as we needed to, we grew. And so at the point where, so after that press, we had a Vastex. We still have this one. It's a 4-station 6-color, only because we needed more colors. And then I was able to buy a flash, and we were just constantly putting back into the business as needed. So if a job came with enough, I mean, we would make $0, but increase our, you know, what we had to do. And so that's kind of how it happened. And then, you know, it got to the point where we were doing, you know, 1,000 shirts in my garage, and, you know, I had to stay up all night. I'm still working, mind you. So I'm working in the day, and then at night I'm printing, and then I'm working and printing, and I'm like not sleeping really. And then so my wife at the time was like, well, you're going to have to make a decision, because you're not well, you know, you're not sleeping at all. So you have to decide, basically give one up, or you know, you're going to burn out. And so that's when we made the decision. It was super scary, but I was like, yeah, let's give it a go. So
yeah. In America, do you have to do, like in the UK, we've kind of got this thing like sole trader, where it's like, you're basically just working for yourself. And then like, did you have to make a jump to say, no, this is proper business, and get like business licensing, and like, so that you can order shirts in bulk and all that type of thing?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work?
Yeah. After that first customer, the very first customer, so my background is really, I guess, business driven. Like, I'm always wanting to do something with business. And so I just took that opportunity when we've got that first customer. Let's like look into this. Can this be a business? I mean, I take it 100% seriously, but I went ahead and still registered the name.
All right.
And initially the name was not cured. It was it wasn't not cured. It was no.
Wasn't.
That would be funny.
Yeah, that would be worse. Okay. What was it if it wasn't cured?
It wasn't cured at all. It was partially cured. No, it was it was called Leave Your Mark.
Yeah,
And,
that's quite good.
so I started, I went down and got a DBA, which is, and for us is doing business as a sole proprietor, which is, I think what you said earlier was but it was kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So you're basically, the business has its own little entity kind of, so we did that at the very beginning. And then it wasn't until I knew we were leaving the house to a place, I applied for and got an LLC.
Okay.
We changed the name early on because somebody else has that name and I did not know. And we started on Instagram, we started posting stuff and reaching more people. And somebody finally from Leave Your Mark in some other weird place said, hey, you can't use our name. That's our name. We've used it for a long time. Please stop using our name. And I was like, dang, okay. So we can't use this name anymore. So we just kind of started figuring out like, what do we want our name to be? Like it gave us an extra, a lot of people don't get the chance, like if you named it wrong and like you've been doing business for a few years, you might feel like, man, I wish I had changed my name, but like it kind of gave us that chance. So I guess it was like kind of like, a good thing that happened.
Yeah, exactly. But at least you didn't get your sign first and then have to change it afterwards.
Yeah. And I honestly don't think it would have caused, I mean, the fact that it's the same name as another place, it's so far away. And I think the rules probably would have allowed me to keep it, but that wasn't like, I don't know, I didn't feel good to do that. And so, and I think too, like the reason we picked this name, we kind of wanted to not say screen printing or not say design. We didn't want it to tie in or t-shirts. We didn't want it to have that. We wanted it more of a brand. Like, so we could brand it. We haven't really, done it as much as I would like to, but I want it to be a brand. Like you can go to Cured and they, somebody can say, well, what is Cured? They don't know what it is initially, but that also leads it to stand off on its own, Yeah. So that's kind of why we named it that.
Yeah, because you have actually gone to like the effort of getting your own tape and boxes and like you're right. Are you using those all the time when you're shipping out to customers? And like, do people use those in Instagram when they get their box of shirts from you or?
Sometimes. I guess it depends on how many boxes it is. And we primarily are local. So we don't have a lot of customers that are outside of our city. Very, very few. But so when they come and grab their box, usually if it's like 6-7 boxes, maybe 1 or 2 will be branded. And if it's only 2, it'll be both of them will be branded. But we just kind of decide based on the volume of what they're picking up if we're going to use our box or not.
Yeah. Okay. And then on Facebook and stuff, it's saying like you're a family business. Like, can you tell me about your team and like who's involved and has the team like grown or changed, or are you thinking of hiring anyone soon? Or
so we obviously, like I said, I was out of the garage and it was just me. Sometimes my wife, sometimes my mom. My daughter is she's 11 now, but she would help when she was like 6, 7 years ago. She would help put things in the box and stuff.
Yeah.
So it truly was it was just me and them. So once we moved into the space, it was still me for a long time, just me. And then again, my mom would probably come help package things or count things and sort and that kind of thing. But then, so we had a need right before COVID hit. We were so busy, I couldn't do it just by myself. And I just needed somebody really to, just to clean screens and keep up with the back end of everything. They can't print, they don't know how to run the machine, but just cleaning screens and catching is going to be a huge thing. So we hired somebody, but then COVID hit. And so I didn't have the need for that person to be around. So we had to let that person go. Then when things started picking up again, we hired another person for the same job. And then that person was from Honduras. And so their mom got ill. And so they had to leave. So we were, again, missing somebody.
Yeah.
And then I put it out again that we were hiring. And then ironically, somebody from Chicago was moving here and was interested in working here. So we hired that person. And so we've had, his name's Trey. We've had him for like 7 months now. And he's my printer. He prints everything. So he runs the machine. And then I hired another girl just recently, like a couple months ago, and she helps clean and reclaim and catch and sort and count and all that stuff. So we have 2 employees now.
That's brilliant.
And then we also have another employee that doesn't work here at the shop, but is like our person. If we need artwork or something done quickly, we can reach out and just have them send back art. So it's really just an artist that's outsourced.
Yeah, no, that seems really clever, because like what you're saying there is like a lot of people, and myself included, wanted to be the printer for a long period of time, and it's quite hard to like take yourself off that role, but really you should be in the office doing the orders and stuff probably, and like let the printer do it. But like how did you find training them up? What, did they already have experience, or like how did you teach them?
I was not willing to find somebody that already had experience.
All right.
So I did not want an experienced printer, because I want them to learn to do it the way I do it. And that way I wouldn't have any problems or any questions, and they wouldn't revert back to an old habit. I think a lot of that came from like when I was working in corporate, a lot of we trained, we hired, we fired. Like I have a lot of that in my background. So it's very easy for me to like manage a team.
It's quite scary how quickly you say hire and then fire. It's like, you gotta be on your toes around you. No, but go on.
There's a quote, I guess, or not, I don't know if it's a quote, but it's like hire slowly, fire quickly.
Yeah.
Or hiring is guessing and firing is knowing. So, you don't know, like what you're hiring. And so you obviously fired them after you figured it out. But yeah, so I specifically was not looking for somebody with experience. The guy that we have now, he had some manual experience, but never worked in auto. And the manual experience he had was on a rapid tag. So his old company was running all the jobs on a rapid tag. So to me, that was like, you're not going to bring any of that habit, because
it's like this big and
you can. So, I brought him in, showed him, like, it took me about a week really just having him watch me do everything and explaining how to run the machine. And he learned very quickly, and, he's basically me. So it makes it really, really easy. I can trust him. If he messes up, he tells me right away, like, hey, this didn't come out right, we messed it up. Or he's got an eye for detail just like I do. So it's a good hire. We ended up with got lucky.
Yeah. Like, how do you make those business decisions? Like, is it just on your gut, like you're saying, or does your mum or your wife have any like say in it, or are you making these decisions yourself? Like, how are you being that confident to grow like this and make these choices? You're just white knuckling it, like clinging on, seeing what happens.
No, pretty much. I mean, like, just like with when we first started in the garage, like I only do things as they're needed. So I won't like, we didn't add the auto because for the longest time, and I've been wanting one for like a year and needing one for like a year. We just didn't have the space. And so I don't know, it feels like I guess like an educated guess. Like, I mean, I'm still guessing. Like, I don't know if we're going to make it. I don't know if I get in space and now we have rent. Now we have all these other expenses, and now, a machine. And like, I'm hoping, and then, it's just really, I don't know if it's courage really. Well, maybe it is. It's just not, I don't feel like I knew. But I guess going slow and making sure that everything's in place is the best, advice I would say for somebody who wants to scale a print shop. You can't, like, I don't know. I always plan for the worst, I guess. So if I had 0 customers, can I still do this, and for how long? And if I can go 3 or 4 months with 0 customers, maybe I can give it a go and just try and, keep going.
So is that what you're doing? Are you kind of like having an emergency fund there that will pay the rent, maybe, or
pretty much
like stockpiling? Because
it
might get lean.
There's a book called Profit First.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Jason, I'm all over Profit First. I bang on about it way too much. But like, what is, so like, how did you implement that yourself, or did you, because I found it really hard to read, but did someone help you figure it out? And like, have you got all the bank accounts matching up as well?
Initially, no, because I didn't have a lot of overhead being in the garage.
Yeah.
But obviously taking on where we're at now is I had to have reserves. Yeah. So leading up to the the purchase of the machine and getting into the space, I started saving money. And even though we had money to buy certain things, I still didn't buy them until I had, like, I guess my rule of thumb is like double. So if you can afford it twice, then you can buy it.
That's Jay-Z.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. We have all the same mottos. You're like, oh man. No, yeah, Jay-Z says that. Anyway, sorry.
So yeah. No, I mean, it's true. So like I'm looking at an embroidery machine right now. I actually might pull the trigger today because it's such a good deal. And it's something, again, if I can buy it twice, I'll buy it. And I also have customers, so I know it's going to pay for itself. You know, it seems things like that. Like, so like, if I know it's going to buy itself in a year, then I'll do it. Same thing with my employees. If I look at how much I'm paying them per hour, per week, per year, can I afford to pay them for a full year? If I make $0 and the answer is yes, then I can bring on an additional employee. Yeah. So it's really slow and I guess educated a little bit on what you can and can't do, just so that we don't fail. And I really honestly feel like I could fail any day. Like I feel like today could be the day that we have to close. And so I just always looked at it that way.
So you kind of got that fear. Like, is that, are you scared a bit because of like, are you watching the news and seeing like lots of businesses around you fail, or why do you think you're vulnerable to it?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm not afraid of, I know that for me personally, like I'm not going to fail myself. Yeah. But I think keeping the fact that it's possible in front of you, it makes you do the right things. Okay. So, you know, I'm just reminding myself that it's possible in order to make sure I take care of everything. Like I'm never going to say we're good because I have XYZ customer and they come every year. We have them every year because they could just decide to go somewhere else. Yeah. It's just about making myself uncomfortable, really.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, good. Yeah, it's really tricky that. I like the way you phrase it though, because it doesn't seem like you're doing these decisions out of like ego for like shiny toys that you want, but you're literally just waiting until they're really necessary and you can afford them. But so with like equipment choices and things, are you picking equipment and suppliers because they're local to you or because you've got experience with those machines? Like, why did you pick the one that you've got and how did you make that decision?
Like I said, it took me about a year to decide, and I was back and forth between the Rock and the M&R, and I didn't know anything about it. So being on social, I just reached out to both representatives and said, hey, I'm interested. Tell me a little bit about it. And so I started getting my feet wet that way and just made contact with a local rep not local really, but the rep from M&R was like, this is kind of where we're at. This is what it looks like. I'm like, well, I don't even know how much they cost. How much is something like this? And like, well, you're looking at, 50, 60,000. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like maybe not, but they were willing to talk to me about it. And so I'm like, okay, I kind of know where my head needs to be now. And the same thing with Rock, I reached out and just try to really gauge it based off of the interaction that I received, because I'm very customer, like the way you treat your customer, it says a lot about your company. So if your company is driving the value in you to treat your customer the right way, the company obviously has good values. And so if the company has good values, like it makes me lean more towards that company because it just trickles down. And so it started there. And I was already leaning more towards M&R because of those relationships that I was building, but I still wasn't going to just buy it off of that. So there was a show coming up, and the rep from M&R was like, hey, you should come to the show and check it out so you can see what it's all about. And I hadn't gone to any shows. And so my wife and I went to the show and just chatted with both of them and got to see them in action and talked with the M&R rep, talked with the Rock rep, just picking their brains, getting information, and just the knowledge that I got. I guess not necessarily just the knowledge, but like the love they had for the machine and the love that they had for why they're in business as a company is what ultimately led me to buy M&R. The Rock representative was just a salesperson. Right. It was, and they couldn't answer all my questions either. I had specific questions because, like I said, I've been looking at this for a long time. I had specific questions. They're like, nobody's ever asked that. I don't know, but like it's almost like, well, if you like your product,
what were you asking that they didn't know what it was? Like, it can't be that obscure.
It was, I think it was on registration because the arms come up and down on the rock versus these where the pallets come up. Yeah. So all the pallets come up and the arms don't. And so the guy was like, these are way better than M&R because you can move the arm up and get to the bottom of the screen. I'm like, oh man, that's a good thing I didn't think of. So I thought that was great. And I said, well, what if, I don't remember what I asked. It was something about registration, about it coming off of registration because it moves so much versus the rock. But you can't, the M&R doesn't move. The plates move, but the top's registered and done and it doesn't move.
Yeah.
And I think it was that question, something about registration and if it came off or if it's likely or what the percentage is, if it does move back down, does it, it was something like that along those lines. And it wasn't like you said, it's not like the totally crazy question or anything, but it just little things led up to me just checking off like the no boxes for them for those reasons. On top of the fact that they were still relatively newer, I guess. I think now they have more accessibility to parts and service and stuff. But at the time, M&R local, I can overnight ship parts. I can overnight ship anything I need. If the press breaks down, if I'm out, I can't, we can't make money if we're out. So I need that support. And having it now for almost a little over 3 years now, I can say that it is true that way. They do support and send things and overnight things and like troubleshoot, answer the phone 24 hours. If something went down, I can call them. And it had, one of the on the flood bar, it would flood. And then when it would press, it would like hesitate. Like it was like hesitating only on one head. And I was like, what in the hell? So I called.
Be confident.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of a job here. And right away, he's like, let me get a technician on the phone. So I got the technician on the phone. The guy called me and said, hey, it's a chip. It's a small chip that goes out sometimes. Well, what can overnight it to you if you want? And I said, yes, I need it like yesterday. They overnight the part and it came here the next day and I installed it and I was back in business.
Yeah.
So, things like that. But that's ultimately, I think, what drove me to M&R over rock. But those are the only two I was looking at. I didn't look at Anatol I saw him at the show, but I hadn't spent enough time researching it to even decide if I was, something I would be interested in anyway.
Yeah. Because like I imagine that when you actually really get down to it, when they're doing all that salesman chat, like, oh, this can do you how many thousand an hour, you're like, I'm never going to do that. That's never going to be like, no one actually stands at the press and it's running full speed all the time, and that actually matters. For like the average print shop, it's all about that reliability. That seems to be the thing that everyone keeps bringing up as like just no downtime when you need it. Talking about that, from people who are manual printers, like how many hours in the day do you reckon an automatic is actually running? Like if you've got full workload on, like, is it 8 hours or is it half the day and most of it's like prep and takedown, or what's that look like?
You mean actually on and printing?
Yeah.
Maybe like 4 hours of the full day.
Yeah.
Sometimes only an hour because it's so fast. I mean, you can get a job out so fast. It's, I don't know, like we don't really need it to be on the whole time. And it's really, like you said, it is a setup and tear down where it's kind of idle. We did do a job a couple months ago. It was a 5,000 piece order. And because of that, it was on all day. Like we just turned it on and just printed. I mean, we took our little breaks here and there, but I would say that it took us like a week to do those because it was front and back. So it was like 10,000 shirts. But that I would say was on probably 6 hours straight, 7 hours straight, maybe. But other than that, I mean, for the normal day, normal usage, it's not on all day. It should be really. We should be that busy, but
you shouldn't really, because you're growing, and that's the point. Because then if you have it on all day, then your next problem is that you're probably not reclaiming screens quick enough, or someone's not packing up the orders quick enough. There's always something that you're hitting against.
There's a bottleneck somewhere, always. Yes.
Yeah. So what would the bottleneck in the business be at the moment? Is it just like outreach and marketing and getting the customers in, or what is it for you?
I think we've kind of, for the moment, cured a couple of them with my employees. Yeah. So, I don't bottleneck. I think before we hired the additional employee, it was the screens. We had like 40 screens sitting here that neither I nor him could reclaim, because I'm setting up artwork and I'm reaching out to customers and he's printing the jobs that are coming in and they're just like piling up.
Yeah.
And we just had to say, like, we're gonna have to come in Saturday and just clean them because nobody's gonna clean them. So having that person come in and clean while we're printing, that kind of help, remove that bottleneck. Mm-hmm. I think ideally the next one would probably be catching and folding. So
yeah,
right now, because of the way it is, the girl that reclaims and does that part, by the time she's done, they're starting to fill up in the bin. So she comes and catches. So it works out for now. But if we, I think if we added maybe like 4 more jobs per week, we'd probably just need somebody addition to check in and count and just do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we also do banners and stickers and signs, and so I'm doing.
I wanted to ask about that because you've named that a different thing, haven't you? Like you've kind of split the business. Like, what was the reason for doing that and not having it under the Cured name, like all the stickers?
Yeah, so I wanted to have it so that I could invoice and keep track of just that side, and also market to just that side. So like when I post something on Instagram and now it's a sticker, it's like, what the heck is this? Like your shirts, like you guys print apparel. And so I could reach out, I think, better if it was just stickers or just banners or whatever. And so that was the initial mindset. But then it kind of got a little bit confusing with me sending out the invoice and then keeping track of it. And we use Trello for everything. So I have a board for just that side and another board for printing. So I can flip the boards, but we got locked out of the Instagram account for it was called, it's Label. So that one's called Label. And I don't know how, I think it recognized my old email address and I don't know what happened. I'm stuck. I can't get into my Instagram account. Oh, so I can't, can't do anything about it. And I've called them and it's just been a nightmare, but it's really not that big a deal right now. So I haven't really focused on getting it back, but so I will now post sometimes on Instagram and it still works that way, but ideally I'd rather it have its own little life, because that on its own could generate another source of, like, a whole source of income by itself.
Yeah.
Just, driving it, right? I'm not even driving it. I'm just like, somebody says they want it and I'm like, yeah, I can do it, but yeah, if I had somebody just on just that would be its own life. So that was the initial intent, was to have its own business. But
no, I understand. But then what you've definitely had it, I'm pretty sure, where like the t-shirt people also want stickers. So then what are you doing? Like invoicing them twice and then
right.
It must be tricky.
Yeah. Right. So I just
t-shirt people always want stickers. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I was just wanted to ask about how, say if you had a lull and you had no customers at all, and you had to keep the shop open for the next month or something. Have you ever done any like physical outreach in the community where you've actually had to like go out and talk to people to get them to do shirts, or are you doing it? Would you do it all on social media, or like what would your tactic be if you're starting from like no customers right now? If something scary happened again, like COVID again.
Yeah. Well, when COVID happened, we reached out to all the businesses that were closed and offered to print and fulfill on their behalf. One design that we came up with that just said San Antonio Strong. And every sale that we got, we'd give them $10.
Oh, yeah,
to help them pay for whatever, like they were closed. And so we took on the whole job of printing, and that like really saved us, really. I think we stayed open because of it.
Brilliant.
But if that wasn't the case, and I didn't have that ability, I would definitely print a flyer and make copies at Kinko's. I mean, we have access to now nicer stuff. Like we could print nicer copies and stuff, but if I was in that same situation, I would go to Kinko's, print some copies, and just start meeting people, talking to people about what they need. I mean, I did do that in the very beginning. I haven't thankfully had to do that in a long time, but yeah, I would go and I wouldn't position. And I think the thing too is like a lot of shops that I have heard of, I don't know them personally, but they'll go after the bottom price and essentially put themselves back out of business once they get some traction. And so I never led with price. I never said we can do it cheaper, or, you know, this is whatever they're charging you, we'll do it for the same or less. Like I've never led with that. Even in the times that I would need it, I would still stick to not necessarily a higher price, but we're here to solve your problem. Like, what are the problems you're having right now with the person you currently print with? Well, they take 3-4 weeks. And on top of that, I can't get a hold of them. So I'm like, well, we take a week, and you have my cell phone number, so you can text me whenever you want. And so a lot of that is like, well, let's try it out. Let's see what it looks, and then we grow another customer. So I think leading with solving problems and
that's
going
really
out
clever.
And instead of trying to sell shirts or sell print jobs, solve problems.
That's really, really smart. I've actually had that conversation on my doorstep, and they're like, well, so-and-so does it cheaper. And I'm like, good. Go to him. He's still open. He's literally right there. He's like 2 streets along. I know he's open till 5. You can get there if you like. I just don't care anymore. There are so many jobs that are literally just like flushing time and money and resources and patience down the drain.
And I know firsthand too, a lot of those shops are they're just like barely hanging on. They're drowning because of the volume of customers they have, but they're charging so low they can't hire, they can't upgrade to an auto. Like they're just stuck because you're charging so low. And now you can't go up. They expect you to charge them what they've been paying. And now you're going to burn the relationship if you go up. They're going to be like, well, I don't want to print with you anymore then. And you just like, I don't know. It's not, I don't know. It's the worst thing. I think one of your questions on there was like what to recommend for shops that are trying to grow. And that's the number one thing I think is the worst thing you could do is try and lowball and try and get in by offering less cost. But yeah, so I've never done that. Like there's, like you said, there's people that come and they're like, well, the guy that I used to go to charges me $5. I was like, well, why are you over here then? Like,
what was wrong with the shirt? What does a $5 shirt look like now then? Exactly. It's such a good point. But it's like really, it's like easy for us to hear it and go, yeah, that makes sense. But when you are starting out, you don't know any of this because you're just hearing it and you haven't experienced it in real life. And you're probably got like desperation around you where you're desperate to please other people, say yes, just in case they go out into the community and like go, oh, they wouldn't even print it for me. Just sensitive.
And I think it's just, if you're in it for the right reasons, you'll understand. If you're in it for just to make money, then you'll be in that same boat you just said. Like, I just want to make the money. And I think that's where you can understand who you're dealing with. Like what company are you dealing with? Is it somebody that really wants to help me, or is it somebody that just wants to take my money? Because if you're going to go out and, like you said, you don't have that knowledge of, you know, what else is out there and what, you know, what they're charging or whatever, but you're just hungry for money, then of course you're going to have to do that. You're going to want to do that. And that might be the right thing for you at the time. But if you do that, your mentality is not for long term, and you're not going to survive as a business and it, you know, over the course of time, just because you're not thinking that way. Like that's not what you're focused. So I mean, it's just, I think that there's the right customer for everybody. There are customers that don't care. They'd rather just print it cheaply and sell the cheap product. They don't care that their end customer is getting crap. So they can just keep working with those people. Don't come over here.
Have you been approached by like contract printing, that type of thing, like middlemen and stuff like that? Like, is that a portion of your business, or are you direct with the customers?
We have 3 only. So I only have 3 that are contract, and the rest that want to be contract, we were more expensive than other contract print shops. So they want to do business with us, which is fine by me. And the ones that we do have that are contract, we're still there. They understand that we're more, but they still would rather us do it because they know what their quality is. So even with a contract printer, we're selective. Like, not just anybody can come in here and do contract work. I have to know, like, who are you selling to, and what do you expect to pay? Because this is what we charge, and this is why we charge it. Not that it's like outrageously more, but it is more than what you would normally pay. We use better inks. Our inks are more expensive than a basic ink. Our shop is clean. We keep everything tidy. We're going to deliver it on time. Like, if all those things matter, then you're going to have to pay a little bit more for that. So, but yeah, we do have 3 that we do contract work for.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was talking to a really big studio, like We Talk Chessie, and he was saying it's a constant like juggling act, because you'd have to fend off lots of the little customers who you're doing lots of back and forth with to be able to take on certain amounts, and it's really, really tricky. And he said people can like drown in it.
I don't know if it's worth. Yeah.
Yeah. You were saying about your inks. So are you a predominantly water-based ink company, like printer?
We're predominantly plastisol.
Oh, right. Okay.
But we're moving that way slowly. We just recently got we've done water-based before and discharge before, and I'd really rather be water-based. And so as of right now, we're printing everything is based on what the customer really wants. So I haven't positioned it to be, this is what water-based looks like. Are you interested? Just because we don't have it down yet. Like, I'm not ready to split, but we've gotten the discharge. And what I'm trying to do is run, discharge with plastisol, high mesh overprint to start out, just to give it that softer feel and still the bright colors. Eventually I'll have a customer for water-based, I think, once we get the science down to it. But that's not, primarily it's plastisol.
Yeah, it's daunting though, isn't it? Because to make that switch over, you have to personally retrain yourself basically, and you can't always do that on customer jobs. So you've got to like, how are you doing like that extra work? Do you have to come in at the weekend and just say, right, this is my time to figure something out? Or are you trying to see, like that customer job, I might be able to have a quick little go at water-based again? Or how are you figuring that out?
A little bit of both, because actually I ran a discharge job without telling them.
Right.
because I knew that they would love it, and I knew that it would work, and it was a one
That's
color
bold. Okay. Okay.
So, and I still didn't tell them. Like, I don't think they know. But so ideally, and what I've done in the past for it was I just recommended it as an option and said, look, we don't do it a lot, but if you're open to try it, this is another option. And if they're like, oh no, it has to be the right color, it has to be Pantone, I'm like, okay, then never mind. We'll stick to the, it's really about filling out the customer, like what's going to work for them. And if I can use them to try it and they're cool with it, then we'll do it. And that's how we did a few discharge jobs. And this was back when we were still in the garage. We ran discharge jobs on a small little dryer with, the manual. And since then, that customer only wants that now.
Yeah.
So it worked out. And, it's just a red and white color. So it's not like a bunch of colors. So it's still kind of in the entry level phases of a discharge water-based print. But if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't know, and they wouldn't know. And so now I have a sample here, and I can show a customer, like, this is kind of what we could do. It'd still be a kind of a gamble. Like, I just lead with that. And if they're okay with it, then we'll do it.
Yeah. And I've got exactly the same setup, because this like rock guy, and he makes like vintage shirts.
Oh, cool.
And I just kind of gave him it once, and now he can't really find anyone else, because we've got a bit busy for him. Because he's good. Like, yeah, so he has to, we just got this thing where we closed our books and he had to go to someone else, and they only print plastisol, and then it's like vastly different, obviously, because it's really cool distressed discharge ink, and then they've tried to replicate it by like hacking up the design a little bit. It's just not, Yeah, you can't do it. But
No.
I've never had anyone go from like into water-based and like that feel and then go, oh, can I have some plastisol again?
Yeah.
But yeah, I also think doing that base is a really good idea, because then even if you were to like heat press afterwards, it just goes so ridiculously soft, and really nice feel on the shirts. I really love doing that. But
yeah, that's where we're gonna start. So
yeah, it's not something that I was able to actually experiment on with customers. I had to do it for our own brand and stuff. But is that something you've ever wanted to do, your own brand? Or have you ever, because surely you started out printing your own shirts with your mate. So
yeah, I mean, I think I did initially, like because we did that graphic design work stuff in the beginning, but it wasn't really like something I loved. It was just for funny shirts. It wasn't like brand itself. It was just really just dumb shirts. But yeah, I mean, I've played around. I have a lot of files saved of things that I've come up with for our brand, and just kind of like just making it fun. And I think we started off, I don't know if you've seen our Instagram, but we started off with shop shirts. So like we'll custom make the shop shirt as a branded shirt. So it's cured, but I mean, it's a branded, it looks like a streetwear kind of, but it's our shirts that we wear to work. And I've had people reach out and they're like, yeah, I want one of those. And I'm like, nah, you got to work here to get one of these. Like, they're not for sale.
100 screens and then you're allowed it.
Yeah, maybe. But it's really, and those are just tests, you know, like just to see if people would be interested. You know, I'm not going to force it. But obviously that would be a good avenue for it to be branded, because I don't know if you've talked with or seen Jacob with, he's out of Houston. OMG. It used to be OMG I print shirts.
No.
So that's a good story to check out. He had a shop out of Houston, and it was called OMG I print shirts. And it was a screen print shop, but he developed a brand and started like really focusing on the brand. And his brand's called Hyde Park. Have you ever seen it or heard of it?
Hyde Park? No.
HYDE Park.
Okay.
So now he has Hyde Park Goods, and he used to go out and set up where people could come and take pictures with his stuff. Like he would set up this little like mini bus with all these like accessories and like photo op kind of thing. Well, the brand now is huge to where he had to close down OMG I print shirts because he was printing so much of his own stuff that he couldn't take anybody else's orders. So he does everything in house, cut and sew. He does a bunch of stuff, and he's talking with rappers now, and he's out in the community doing things. Like he's doing a lot of big things now with his brand, and that's something I would say is very like that would be cool if that happened, something like that. But I don't think I'm as, I guess, creative as he is and what he's come up with. But, you know, I mean, if you look at that story, it's like very like admirable of what he's done and what he's gone through. Yeah. But no, not that extent. Like I mean, obviously that'd be cool, but we haven't thought of a branding effort that way.
No. Okay. Well, it's fair enough. But like a lot of studios kind of just doing it very small sideline, and they're just calling them their sample shirts, because do you know how everyone always goes, oh, can I have a sample? And you're like, not of your design, but you can have one of mine. It's a really good, like, you know, decoy to fend them off, so that you don't have to just print one and then I'll come back for 100 when I'm massive or all that crap.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Your design, I just thought you could literally just whack it straight on a shirt, because as its own logo, because it's so like slick. It's kind of it's quite like a high end one though, isn't it? But anyway, I think that would probably go really well. Can I talk to you about your artwork and stuff and how you manage that? Because you said you now send it out to somebody, but have you ever thought of doing it like in-house on like separation software or anything like that, when you've got an order?
We do majority of it in-house. It's only when I'm backed up and I know it's something simple that I can't just do right now at the moment. Like I'm busy, so I'll send it to them. So it's really not 100% of, almost, I want to say like 95% of it is still in-house. And we do use Separation Studio for some of the, you know, the multicolored things or the photorealistic kind of images. I think one of the ones we just did recently, actually, we did with Separation Studio. But other than that, I'm pretty quick now with Illustrator, so I can just go in Illustrator and separate it real quick and get them knocked out. So we handle most of it here. And then on top of that, my printer is also an artist, and then the girl that reclaims our screens is also good at Illustrator.
Oh,
so
brilliant.
Yeah, either one of them, I can say, hey, can you clean this up for me real quick? And they're really quick and good. He's actually good with Procreate, which is a nightmare to work with. I don't know if you've ever.
I know. I hate Procreate. All the tattooists got it, didn't they? And then it's just.
The best trick that I've learned is making the artboard as big as you possibly can on Procreate. And so when you draw it, it's huge. So when you bring it into Illustrator and you image trace it, it'll keep most of those details. But that's the only resolve that I've come to with Procreate.
No, I hate it. It's literally the bane of our lives. Like they do their own mock-ups thinking that they're helping you as well. And you're like, this is ludicrous. You can't even like zoom in once and it just becomes a blur of crap.
Yeah.
And then they're really fine drawings. So then your vector guy can't do it because it's like, all right, that's 50 hours of work. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes. Okay. Oh, I know what you mean. That's so bad. You guys send to? Sorry, say it again.
Where do you send yours to?
I've got a guy called Sprint. He's just one of those kind of like, those digitizers, and then one of them you gave them a go. Okay. He does all my vector stuff, but I do all my like color separations and difficult separations with Separation Studio. I haven't like been able to give that up yet because I feel like I've got weird ways of doing things. Like I want to put my underbase under certain colors and know what order I'm printing myself.
I got you. Yeah.
I haven't quite relinquished that over to someone else to tell me like, oh, you need an underbase under this, and then I want you to print it like this. I think it's
right.
I haven't given up the reins yet, but I'm pretty good at all that. I've been doing it for a long time. So yeah, I think I'm okay.
With the artwork. I haven't even considered that up.
Yeah, but vectors, sod that. I'm not drawing anything. They can get like pushed straight out and back in a couple of minutes. But you already have embroidery, don't you? So do you use the same guy to do your digitizing and stuff as well?
We do. Right now we have a contract with embroidery. So I send it out to a local embroidery shop and we have a contract. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It looked like it was in-house.
No, yeah. So what I was saying earlier is I'm about to buy our own, not just a single head, but I really want to focus on patches and hats because nobody else here can do them. And I get that all the time. Like, can you make me a patch? I'm like, no, because I don't have a, and everybody that I've called, they want like 50 or 100 minimum just to get it close to something where we can make any money. And I'm like, I don't know, it's not worth doing it. And then it comes out like crap. Like I can't control it. And that's the other thing for me is like, I have, like you said, like with the artwork, like I have to be able to control it. If I can control how it's going to look, like I can't guarantee that to my customer. And I hate to be in the middle like that, where it's like, we'll do it correctly. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know you enough. We built that relationship. So that's kind of where I'm at. But so yeah, embroidery we take on, but we send it to our contract for now until we get the machine in.
Yeah, embroidery is pretty simple. Like that, I actually interviewed a guy who's got like rows and rows and rows, and all he does is embroidery. And then he actually sends out his screen print, and he says stuff like, when the machine came, I asked them to do like cap setting on it, and I've never changed it in 8 years. And I'm like, yeah, wow. That's the kind of experience that I've got with it. If you keep the same kind of cap and you're doing similar embroidery, like high build, you can keep the settings there. I just don't, there's not as crazy and varied and difficult as screen print for sure. Okay. So I don't think you'll have a hard time getting into it. It would just be like,
that's good.
Yeah. And if you're ever having like loads of thread breaks or something, it's just a really easy setting thing. You're going to have to join like those Facebook groups for embroidery people, but they're fine. Yeah. They're much nicer than screen printers. They are. Like screen printers rip each other really badly on those groups, but embroidery people like take little videos for you. On the Discord for what? Like yeah, I'm on that one.
It's not bad. I mean, some of it's a little, they get out of hand a little bit, but
no, that's like everyone's got their own print shop. I'm talking about like on Facebook when those poor buggers have a problem and then everyone just rips them apart. No, the Discord is basically just Corey from Floodway not taking no for an answer. He's always been like that. I used to go on a Clubhouse with him every single week. Him and
I think I jumped in one of those.
Did you? Cool. Yeah, exactly. You just have to know, like, he's never being personal. He's just wants everything to be correct, and he doesn't like suck up to anyone. He's just he won't let it go. But most of the time he is right. So it's tricky. Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean though. Yeah. There's a lot of big personalities in those groups. And then like someone's like, drop it, let's talk about what we had for dinner. And we're like, oh, there's so much tension in like a Discord group. I didn't know that was possible. No, it is funny. Yeah. So are there any like big shops around you that you are able to like talk to? Because in the beginning it seemed like you kind of just wanted to go out on your own because you weren't quite gelling with them. But like, are you friends with any of them now?
I am. I'm friends with, I don't know if you heard of them. It's Ace Screen Graphics. They're the ones who came up with that rapid reg system for registering.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm cool with him, Mike. And he's local, but he probably has a larger customer base than me, but we're almost the same shop size. Like he has, kind of the same amount of ability as I do. But he has like 5 employees. He's been doing it for over 10 years or something. So he's a little bit ahead of me. But he's a cool guy. And then Jonathan over at Success Print Shop. He's not too far. Still in Texas, but same thing. He has about the same setup, and I think he has like 5 or 6 employees though. Young guy, super young. He's cool.
He's intense. He's intense, isn't he? He's like so driven. I haven't actually spoken to him yet, but
yeah, he's a good guy. Been friends, and I made friends with them through Instagram. There's another local shop here that I don't think they want to be my friend. I've tried to be their friend.
Yeah, we're not allowed to say their name because they don't want to be your friend.
Stay over there. But there are a few shops that are straight up cutthroat. Like, I don't even want to talk to you because you're my competition kind of thing. Really? And those are the older shops usually.
Yeah. They are always the old ones as well. Like, I'm trying to like get some English people on, but the owners of the studio are like 50 plus and they just don't want to know. It's like, I'm like, it's me in here with my manual squeegee. I'm not taking your tea towel customers. I don't know. Yeah. Sodom. I'd rather talk to like all the fun Americans anyway. But it's really interesting. But you're not even like shy about doing quite unusual prints for people, are you? Like, I've seen you do like foiling and like, are you quite into thinking about like special effects and differentiating yourself like that? Or
it's kind of, it all goes back. So we have like core values for the company that everything ties back into the value system, right? So like, it's really always boils back down to problem solving. So if a customer has a problem and we can provide that solution and it's within our capability, then we'll do it. So the foil thing, I had no idea how to do it or like what it took to do it. And so I just researched, looked it up, and I'll always do that. Somebody just asked me, a brewery asked me, can you do those like this little tin, like I guess they go in the mugs or whatever. And I don't know if you've seen them, like a beer mug with like a tin, like their logo or whatever. And before I said no, I went and looked it up. Like, is this something I could do? Like, do I have what I need to make it? And then I figured it, no, I don't. And so I said, no, I'm sorry, we can't do those. But for the most part, if it's any customer request, I will at least entertain and see if it's something I can help with. And if I can, then we figure out how to make it work. And so I don't necessarily want to go into specialty. Like, I don't want to corner myself into anything really. So I don't want to just be a screen printer. I don't want to be just embroidery or just specialty. I really just want to be quality. So of anything that you get from Cured, you'll know it's of good quality. Yeah. And that's really all it is. It's not, I'll take it on, but if we suck at it and we can't do it, then I'll be like, I'm not doing that again. So sorry.
Yeah. So it kind of sounds like you're framing yourself and bringing yourself like just a businessman, really, and screen print is just one of the outlets where you've like been able to prove yourself in that kind of like area.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's really cool.
We want to do coffee. I know that's totally
no, coffee's like I can understand that as well. There's loads of stuff like that.
We have a lot of coffee customers, and they're super cool. And like, I love coffee to begin with. So it's like, and then I know a guy that like he roasts the beans. So like I have all the connects. I just really need to buy like the machine and set up something simple to test it out. And there's a lot of specialty coffee shops in San Antonio. There's none over on this side of town where I'm at. So like it would just work. Like, I don't know. It's something that I think will happen in the pretty near future. It'll just be cured coffee.
Yeah. Cure hangover or something. It's just like a name that like gels into lots of other things. You'll probably be like drying your beans through your dryer and then drying them out on your screens on your racks.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's good.
No, it's really interesting talking to you about that, actually, because like I'm definitely in it for mixing and art and getting my hands dirty and stuff. And that's the kind of like side I'm at. But I also kind of want to be a business person, but there are people like you who are very business centric, and you could probably throw anything at you and you'd make a business out of it, I assume. Yeah. But you just have to have like that kind of personality.
I'm trying to instill it in my daughter, and so I'm buying her a button making machine.
Yes.
And I started offering it to my customers, like not in a like real professional way. It was more like, hey, I'm buying this thing for my daughter. If you're interested, she can make you some buttons. And they were like, yeah, that'd be cool. We'd love to like help out. And so I told my daughter, I was like, hey, you got to be serious about this though. Like, it's a real customer. You got to really do it. And now she's bugging for the machine. So I guess it worked, but just something simple that she can do and see if she likes it. But stuff like that, I like to entertain stuff like that.
Yeah, enterprise. Yeah, I was never like I was never given any like thing to put all that towards as a child, but I'd bloody love to do that as buttons. I bet when does she do like brownies? Is brownies a thing in America? You've got Girl Guides.
Girl Scouts.
Brownies? Girl Scouts. So like when
cook, but they don't make them themselves. They sell them. But she likes to bake with my wife. They cook, they bake and stuff. That'd be a good idea.
But you'd be like, they've all got t-shirts and buttons and like, my kid's going to win. You better sell those bloody things. And then you're selling them to all your customers as well.
Yeah.
Cured cookies. Yeah. So like, say in like a 5-year kind of plan, do you think you're just going to stay in this unit that you've got now and just keep doing what you're doing? You've got like room to expand, or like, do you think you can see yourself with loads of embroidery machines, or like what kind of goals have you got for like 5 years, do you reckon?
It's gonna probably play out slowly like it did to begin with. Right now I'm pretty much maxed out where I'm at. We have like 1,600 square feet, but because of like all the signs and the posters and the things that we print with the digital print side, it needs more space. Like the table needs to be huge to be able to cut. So it's taking up like a lot of that side. And then the printer inside, and then the cutter inside, they're big machines, so they barely fit in the office. So as of right now, we're just like surviving with the space. But the workload hasn't been so much that we have to move. So 5 years, I would say probably in the next couple of years, I would want to be in a bigger space. And I know we're talking about the embroidery earlier, and it's going to be a single head. If like I said, if it starts to need an additional, we'll add an additional. But I've never gone like hard. Let's get all these machines and let's get all this stuff, and then we'll figure it out. Like I've never done things that way. So as the need increases, we're just growing with our customers.
Yeah.
So
that seems smart.
Increase, then I increase to help them. And so I would say in the next 5 years, we'd probably be in a bigger space, maybe another auto, maybe, I don't know. but that would probably be first before I add on to embroidery or signage or anything. It'd be another automatic just to help us keep things spinning. But yeah, I mean, the next 5 years would probably be that, and or coffee with it.
Can you see yourself like getting rid of all the digital print? Can you see that happening? Like just cutting it off?
Digital?
Yeah, just like getting rid of all the stickers and stuff. Do you think it is a distraction, or do you think it's just as viable, or what's your opinion on it?
It's not hard to do. So, and it covers the costs if I don't have work for printing with apparel. Okay. So like in the other scenario you said, if something were to happen where we have any jobs, I could very easily sell some signs and some yard signs and some, a roll of stickers or something, and it covers a lot of the cost. The margin is so big with digital printing that I wouldn't get rid of it because it's so easy to do. If it was time consuming and it was costing money, it was like a pain, of course I would just come back to screen printing. But I just gave it a go. And it was when COVID happened, because they were marking down things and I always wanted to print my own stickers, really. So I was like, well, let's just buy it and see what happens. And so we've had it since then.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm projecting a little bit of my own experience, because actually like got into this whole digital print thing, and then that fell into like, oh, can you do a website? God knows why I thought that was a good idea. And then I set myself up for this whole other thing, and I thought they would all like tie into each other, but it just turned into a big cycle of nightmare. And then so I literally just one day just completely cut it off and basically moved that part of the business to somebody else. So yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I asked about the website thing, and I just say I built my own off of Shopify. I mean, I had my own before, but I just kind of tailored the Shopify one. They're like, hey, we really like your website. Is there any way you could build one for us? I'm like, no, I'm sorry. There's a lot of people you can reach out to that can do it. It's just not worth the time and effort. Yeah. I mean, we do stores, like we'll set up stores, but that's because it's for me. But I'm not going to set up my own site. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can see that getting in. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure website is the worst thing to get into unless it's your only thing, because it's like no one will ever supply you all the content and the pictures and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've got everything like on track, and it seems like quite an exciting time for you, because literally anything could happen, right? Like you could just you could take on some massive contract job which just completely changes the whole dynamic, but it doesn't seem like you're taking like crazy risks or just doing it for ego or show. So yeah, seems like you've got your head on straight.
Thank you.
No problem. No, yeah, it's just nice talking to someone like that. It's cool. So do you want to like finish by saying any like cool shop hack that you figured out over the years, or like one big piece of advice or anything?
You did ask about branding.
Yeah.
Right? Like how would like advice, I guess, for people that are trying to brand, because we do have a lot of customers that come in for that. And it's kind of always the same story. I'm sure it's the same for you too, where I just want to place a small order now and see how it comes out, and then we'll do thousands or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I guess the only thing I would want to leave, I guess, and say, and it's just pertaining to myself as well, because I didn't know where I was going to end up, and I didn't go in and say, hey, I'm going to be this big print shop one day, so I need these little order. Like I don't know. I guess for branding, I would say if you're gonna do or want to do a brand that, because you're gonna like we said earlier, if you're just trying to make money off of it, it's probably not gonna do as well. And a lot of people that I've seen are afraid to be what they already are and what they already like, because they want to please their market, or I want to do streetwear, so I found this font that looks like this, and can you make it look like that? And I mean, I'll tell them, like, of course I can do that. Of course I can make it look like that. But are you a brand, or are you going to copy that brand? And so my advice would be, if you're going to start a brand, it has to be because it's a reflection of you and what you like and who you are. Otherwise, you're going to stop doing it. You're not going to like it at some point, and you're going to just constantly be trying to please people. just to get the branding out, or to get the money, or to get the clout, or to show you're big on Instagram. But if you brand and you want it to be successful, it has to be you. It has to be from what you are. And that's kind of the way I feel about our business, and like me, like what I am. Like, I like quality things. I'll pay the money if it's worth it. And I feel like my customers will too. And so our brand is to leave them with an impression that you're going to get the quality, you're going to get everything I'm telling you. We're going to communicate. We're going to be partners. We're going to do this together. And if you have a problem with it, I'm going to fix it. Like, we're going to build that relationship. And I feel it's the same exact thing with a brand. If you start a brand and you don't answer anybody's DM, or you don't comment back, or you don't do anything, like, it's not going to work out. But that would be my advice is for like brands, is just and I see it all the time. I've only seen one brand that we've actually done work for that is consistent and still has business. And that person sticks true to what the brand means. Like, they created a value system for themselves. We're only going to print this, that represents this, that does this, because that's what they wanted to do. And they attracted the people that believed in that and liked that as well. Yeah. So that's the only advice that I would give for anybody wanting to do anything. You want to start a business, you want to get into screen printing, you want to grow your shop, you want to create a brand. Like, that principle applies to all those things. So yeah, I
definitely agree. Yeah. Less showboating, and have some core values, like you said about that seems like a really strong piece of advice. That would be on the back of your book, Jason, when you do your business book about cured.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah. I can see it. I think you're saying like it's slow, but it's actually just definite and thought out. And seems really clever. I'm actually excited to come and maybe interview you in like 5 years' time, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that guy didn't know what he was talking about. This is just growth. No, that'd be really cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was cool talking to you.